Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with another book review, and as you can already tell from the title of this video that this book is going to be about Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. And this is actually going to be an unpopular opinions review because unlike a lot of people, according to New York Times bestseller list, I am one of the few who did not like this book. So let's just get on with the review. So as always, before I really begin and tell you guys all the reasons why I don't like this book, let's just start off with the summary of this book. So the book follows the story of Asa. She's 16 years old and essentially just has that one best friend, Daisy. So right from the beginning, Asa finds out that this mysterious billionaire, who's also a neighbor of hers, has recently disappeared. And she finds out that one, this billionaire was actually going to be arrested for bribery when he disappeared. And two, she actually knew the son of this billionaire was actually friends with him a few years ago. And with the help of her best friend, Daisy, they actually sneak onto the property of this said billionaire and tries to find any clues that might lead to the discovery or finding out what happened to this guy. And there's also a $100,000 reward at stake here, so just as an FYI. And of course, because this property belongs to a billionaire, they actually get caught by security pretty quickly on, and this actually leads to the reunion of Davis, who is a son, and also Asa's old friend from a long time ago, and Asa herself. And Davis and Asa start to hang out again, despite the fact that Davis was initially worried that Asa was only there because of the reward money. And as the book continues, you realize that the mystery of this missing billionaire is actually not the true purpose of this book. In fact, it really centers around Asa and how she is dealing with this never-ending spiral of her thoughts. So that's what the book is about, essentially. My 2 cents, I really don't like this book. I'm not going to go too much into details about all the reasons until the spoiler section in case I spoil something by accident, but I really did not like this book at all. I honestly thought this book would be more of like a murder mystery or like a kidnapping situation because, you know, this guy mysteriously disappeared and I want to get into why this person disappeared, and I thought this book would really focus on Asa and Daisy trying to like navigate and find out these clues to find out where or what happened to this billionaire. And honestly, I would say that this mystery was only 20% of the book. The rest of the 80% was really focused on Asa and how she's dealing with that like never-ending cycle of her thoughts. Anyways, that's all I'm really going to say about this book, because if I say any more, I will end up spoiling more than I would like. So if you had read this book and you really liked it, continue on with me to the spoiler section, or if you didn't like it, by the way. But if you have not read this book yet, then go check it out, because I'm pretty sure I'm one of the few people who don't like it. So my thoughts here are mostly on the negative side because I didn't like this book, but disregarding that part, a lot of people did like it. So if you do find this book interesting, then go check it out and then come back with me to the spoiler section. So I feel like I might get a lot of backlash because of the fact that I didn't like this book, but it is what it is. I actually was expecting a good mystery novel from the synopsis. I thought it would be about like disappearance, finding out what happened to this guy, and then finding the clues and all these hints and etc. But that wasn't really the case here at all. Instead, I actually found myself reading over and over again about Asa's like internal thoughts, and it was to the point that it kept giving me weird goosebumps because I was just like, oh my god, this girl is like I feel like I'm slightly germophobic in certain things, but this girl takes it on a whole another level. I mean, she introduced this cut on her finger right from the beginning of the book about how somehow like she kept doing this weird thing, and then this finger would just keep breaking open, like the skin would keep breaking open. So she keeps like, you know, putting on some hand sanitizer to disinfect it, and she puts bandage on it, and it was just like so like her thoughts were all about whether or not she put a bandage on, whether or not she put a fresh bandage on. And then she kept talking about the bacteria in it, and I was just like, oh my goodness, like I feel like this book was just like she kept repeating the same thing over and over again in different words, and I was just like, I cannot deal with this anymore. And then there was that point where she basically started to eat or drink hand sanitizer, and I was just like, that is nasty. Like, how the heck did she do that? And I actually thought that, you know, I thought that thing is poisonous to you. So when she went to the hospital, that one scene after the car accident, I thought the doctors would have been like, hey, something's wrong with your stomach because it looks like you have some hand sanitizer in there or something. But that wasn't really the case. They didn't say anything until she, you know, her mom caught her, was like, what are you doing drinking that stuff? And that's when, you know, they intervened. But they didn't notice it. I thought, I don't know, I'm not really big on science, so I just thought that drinking that stuff would like kind of fuck up your stomach a bit, but I guess that wasn't really the case because she only did it a few times. So anyways, moving on from the hand sanitizer part, she also got so intense about the whole like tongue microbes thing. The relationship with her, between her and Davis, when they moved to the next step, when they started to kiss and make out, it was so weird because Asa was like, oh, I really want to kiss him, and she would be usually be the one to initiate the kiss, and then she'll freak out. She'd be like, oh my god, like his tongue microbes in me, like it's gonna stay in me forever and infect me and colonize in me, etc, etc. And then he would just be like, what's going on, like what happened? And she's like, I have to go to the bathroom, and she's like in there like putting on hand sanitizer and drinking it. I don't know, the whole thing just like weirded me out to no end. I mean, I understand that, you know, as we're all growing up, we all go through a phase, or many phases for some people, of not being comfortable with your own body. But for Asa, it was on a whole nother level. It was like so crazy. Like, I get that me getting a little crazy from reading from her crazy thoughts is kind of the purpose of the book, because you're just like, oh my god, like now you understand people who don't, like, you know, can't stand themselves or can't stand being like in their body or etc. Like, I get that, but for her it was to the point that it was kind of nauseating, because all she kept talking about was her germs and the bacteria and the microbes and etc. And she'd be doing something totally normal and then she'd start freaking out. She'd be like, oh, I have to think about, did I put bandage on? No, I didn't put bandage on. No, I did put bandage on. Did I put bandage on? And she kept like thinking about it over and over again. Like, let me tell you, reading someone who keeps thinking about that is so exhausting. Like, I mean, I feel like maybe people are like, that's the reason why I like this book, because it really understands and relates to you, but it does not relate to me because I never had that issue. But moving on from her germophobic tendencies, let's go on to the friendship between her and Daisy. I actually really like this part, to be honest. It's a friendship that I actually really admire. So first of all, I do want to point out that I thought it was kind of funny that Daisy was actually semi-famous for being a fan fiction writer of Star Wars. I don't know why, but I just thought it was kind of hilarious. And the one thing that I really like about their friendship is that despite having nothing in common with Daisy's obsession with Star Wars and Asa not really caring much about that space opera at all, and actually mostly interested in internalizing all of her bacteria thoughts, etc., they were always there for each other. I mean, they go into fights, especially that bad one which got into the whole car accident when Daisy accused Asa of never really asking about her own life, because she never really asked about anything, period, because Asa was just so focused on her internal thoughts that Daisy was just like, I feel like you never asked about my life, you never asked about my family, you never asked what's going on with me. And they got into that huge fight, and even though it resulted in a car accident, they ended up making up, and their friendship became stronger than ever. So that whole friendship between Asa and Daisy is one that I can really, really admire. So honestly, at the end of the day, like, I like the fact that the disappearance, this mystery of the billionaire was solved and everything, but at that point though, like by that point, it didn't really feel important at all. It became very, very secondary, which is kind of disappointing because that was the main reason why I was really into this book. I was like, yes, murder mystery and figuring out what was going on, but when it actually became relevant, it no longer seemed as important. So, and the whole situation when Daisy and Asa kind of stumbles upon the jogger's mouth, like the meaning behind jogger's mouth, and then finding out the body and everything, at that point I was just like, it seemed more random than anything, to be honest, because it was kind of like, oh, murder mystery in the beginning, and then they're trying to figure out how to find clues, and then the $100,000, and then all of a sudden, you know, Davis gave it to them, so they were like, oh, well, we don't have to look for your father anymore, etc. And then it became all about Asa and her internal thoughts and her friendship with Daisy, and then all of a sudden at the end it's like, oh, we found out, you know, where your father is, and like that he's been dead this entire time. Okay. And I'm just like, alright, it just seemed kind of random, like, for them to just stumble upon it, that it was just like, it just didn't really sync well, I guess, because it was just like murder mystery, Asa, murder mystery. Like, there was no connection between the beginning and the end. So overall, not a huge fan of this book, as I already mentioned. I was expecting a lot more from John Green and this novel, to be honest, but it just did not meet my expectations at all. I mean, the book did teach me more about self-love and being comfortable with myself, etc., which I guess goes along with his usual theme. At least that's the message that I usually get from his books. But Overall though, I feel like I just couldn't really connect with Aza at all. Like literally, she is so far removed from how I am personally, and I could not relate to her whatsoever. And then the mystery, that it was just, I don't know, it just didn't really sync well together, it didn't really connect well together, that for me it was just an overall disappointment. So anyways, that's all I really have to say for Turtles All the Way Down. I mean, this book, I feel like maybe I'm just not into this type of book anymore, but this book was just not my cup of tea at all. But if you did like it, loved it, I feel like most people did, do let me know in the comments below and let me know why you loved it, because for me, I really did not like it at all, and I'm really curious to see other people's opinions and finding out the reason why so many people love this book, and why somehow me, I'm just like, no. So do let me know in the comments below. If you didn't like it as well, do let me know so I can be like, yes, I am not alone in this. But anyways, that's all I have to say for this book. If you do like this review, do give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's it for today, guys. Thank you. Bye.